Record on this computer. Okay, we are recording, Tij Bedi. You haven't showered. I haven't showered. You probably just worked out.
I only did yoga this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock here, so I got a workout in, which was good. It's actually nice weather. Um, but I
I have
feel.
realized that working out in the evening
Uh-huh.
keeps me up at night.
Uh-huh.
So working out
True.
in the morning hours is better.
True. Well, welcome to officially episode number 5 of The Unspoken, a podcast that goes behind the scenes. And in this particular case, this little mini episode is called The Startup. And we have a series here that we're talking about. Between myself and Tij, we're going to invite on some guests when appropriate. And we're going to bring the viewer and the listener behind the scenes as to this entire startup process and what it means and how it's done, how it's not done, the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurs that are discussing ideas all the way through product creation and idea generation, and then ultimately recruiting and rolling it out and launching, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be fun. Hopefully we'll take you on this journey and you'll enjoy it as a listener. But what I wanted to do with this particular episode was just run a couple of thoughts by Tij. And I wanted to get your feedback. And we haven't really spoken since the last time. So I'll bring you up to speed on a couple things and then we can kind of dive into it. But first of all, we were discussing 3 different companies in the last 3 episodes. We were discussing LeadMe, we were discussing Smarter Sales, and then we were discussing this esoteric concept of a golden contact, the ability to transmit contact information and groups, unlimited data attached to it all, and keep it all up to date. Tij didn't really understand the last piece because it's such a big topic, and I don't blame you, Tij, because it is a huge topic. And so I've done nothing with that. With respect to LeadMe, in the last week, I was supposed to have had a conversation with a brokerage firm in Canada that was interested in developing a next generation brokerage firm. That conversation has not taken place yet. I'm still trying to set that up, and I'm waiting for that discussion, and who knows where it's going to go. And then the last thing is Smarter Sales. And Smarter Sales is basically, we sent a fuck you very much letter to a potential corporate sponsor of Smarter Sales. They've been yanking us along for so long. And after about 8 or 9 months of this and 20 or so plus presentations, we went from the potential $2 million investment into Smarter Sales. I recruited a bunch of people who got behind me and the idea, and they were gratuitous with their time, so generous in their efforts and their passions, and they came along for the ride. And what typically happens is either it continues to go forward or it dies. And in this particular case, I think I've killed it. And I've killed it on purpose with the consensus of everybody else, because there really wasn't any light at the end of the tunnel. And we've been at this game for about 9 months, and we're finally like, enough's enough. So we started with $2 million investment. We went all the way down to a $750,000 development project that would deliver an entire solution to them, something that I think is worth about $5 or $10 million and has a payback within the first client that they get from it. But then the last thing they did was they stuck in some arrogant Swiss French asshole into the mix. And I had this discussion with our lawyer and myself and with this guy and our sponsor at the firm. So there's 4 people on the call. And basically, he had no idea what we did. He had no idea where we were in the discussions. He was a typical guy that came in to vet things, and he really was a lazy fuck. And so what I ended up doing was I bit my tongue. I was restrained. I was recognized, by the way, for my restraint, because I could have gone off on this guy because of his arrogance. And he basically said the typical early stage adventure vesting kind of shit with a 23-year-old who wants to create a new cupcake, right? I go out and build the cupcake for $20,000 and come back and show it to us. And we'll try it out. And if we like it, we'll give you another $20,000, that kind of bullshit. So we're dealing with $1.5 trillion asset manager, $1.5 trillion. And they brought this guy in who ended up not only being a prick, but I just wouldn't want to work with him, period. But he ended up getting his wings clipped after the call because they realized what a liability he was. and they ended up reducing his hours, reducing his pay, and he's effectively been cast out of the organization. It doesn't change the fact that they were stupid enough to bring this guy in, and I've decided to tell them to go fuck themselves in a nice way. Friends come and go, but enemies accumulate. And so I'm being facetious there. It's just business, right? It's not personal. It's just business. Guys, go take a hike. Go try to build this on your own. You've signed an NDA. You effectively can't build this on your own, because if you do, you violate the NDA, because we've given you the roadmap. And if you want to do it, it's now going to cost more. It's actually going to cost more than $2 million to build this thing, because it really is a significant build. So I've sort of killed that, Tij, until I hear otherwise, because it's a really complicated build. The one caveat is that there was two pieces to it. There was the AI piece and there was the data science piece and the analytics piece. The analytics piece, you can imagine like a Palantir, but for asset management. It's really, really heavy lifting. I mean, big time algorithms, predictive analytics, data integration, data engineering, cleanup, triangulation, all that good stuff. And then presenting it in a way that doesn't overwhelm a salesperson who just wants answers. It's not like you're dealing with the US government or a Fortune 500 company that can put a team on it and work out the results like Palantir does and charges a minimum of $50 million per client. But this is something that these salespeople just want to use and just want answers from. So the other piece, the AI piece, is something that I'm going to keep alive for a little bit longer, because the AI piece, I'm talking to a company in Norway called Olin, Owlin, and they've been friendly for a couple years now, and they've developed a product as an AI solution. It uses optical character recognition, natural language processing. Basically, what I want to do is I want to create a feed for the salesperson, people, that's curated news feed that just basically has different items that pop up in their feed and notifications that allows them to be informed as to what's happening in their territory, allows them to be informed what's happening with the competitors. And all it's doing is it's kind of acting as a digital assistant to begin with. Eventually, it can be a lot more than that. But to begin with, I was thinking I would license the Olin product. I would layer on my own front end. I would do a little bit of training of the model to begin with, and then I would roll it out. The challenge is, and we both know this, I don't want to write my own checks here, because I've been writing my own checks for a while on this company. I want somebody else to kind of sponsor it. So, by the way, I'm going to change it to this gallery view. There we go. Sorry about that. So, so that's sort of tabled for now. Lead Me is tabled for now. The esoteric CRS contact retrieval solutions, or this golden record thing, is tabled. But what I did was, last night I was up at 2:30 in the morning, couldn't sleep, and I wrote down two things that I wanted to discuss with you. One was a cheaper Zoom. I'll give you my rationale behind that for the second. And the second thing was a cheaper office solution, a WeWork alternative. So both are kind of interesting, right? And again, crazy ideas, it's what I do. So imagine this, where we buy a self-storage building, you and I do, and we each put in some money, we lever it up, and we buy it for whatever. They typically sell for anywhere between $2 million and $5 million. We put some loans on there, come up with a couple $100,000. But instead of just trying to get people to store their shit there, we actually wire each of the units with electricity, and we allow them to rent them for offices. Self-storage offices. I can't hear you. You're on mute. There you go.
So instead of piling crap, you actually use it for.
You put a desk in there and a lamp. There's bathrooms on each floor, right? There's paper thin walls. It's for the hobbyists that want to do some sewing, and it's for the pure procurement. It's for the drop shippers. It's for the people that just want to write code and put 4 desks in there and just want to be quiet. But be able to turn to each other instead of on Zoom. And it's half the price of a WeWork. Because
you have a good point, because I think from what I've been reading and just personal experience,
yeah,
people don't want to work from home. They do need,
Exactly.
they want an office.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So there was a time when I was thinking, hold on, maybe the world would never go back into offices. So all of this like excess inventory that's going to get created in New York City, all of this extra that's going to come out of everything. What are we going to do with that extra space? But I think there's still time to confirm that that extra space has been created. So I
Yeah.
think it seems like what you're saying, and from what I've been hearing, is at some point in the near future being anywhere between 6 to 2 years, 6 months to 24 months,
Yeah.
offices are going to come back. I think people are going to want to be in offices again, right? But I
But
think
Tish, they
we
may,
work.
they, but they may come back differently.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I was going. So I'm just trying to like
Yeah.
play it through in my head. But I think the because people have also been trained now to work at home, they may not want to pay 6 grand for an off whatever WeWork charges, I forget.
Yeah.
So if people have their own hotspots, right? Like everybody's got a phone that 5G is coming, so providing internet is not going to be a thing anymore,
Right.
right? So like you go talk to one of these storage space unit people, and he just basically put doors, like. Or I think people are going to be happy because this got that garage effect, right? Like a
Well, it's
startup
got the garage
garage.
effect at the lower level where you load all your shit, but in the first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever, how many floors it is, typically 4 or 5 floors at most. There's just units, and they aren't glass, they aren't fancy. Everyone brings their own furniture, right? You don't have to supply the furniture. All you're doing is supplying electricity, 2 outlets per unit, and they all
Wow.
lock it up with a fucking padlock at the end of the night. No fancy electronics, nothing.
People love it, right? People love that stuff.
This is self-storage, except instead of self-storage, you're not putting a bed in there in your kitchen. You're putting whatever they want to rent it out, and so you're gonna have people coming and going more often, but that's it.
So Jeff, how do we prove that there's a need in the market for this? So I
I don't
think
know.
the problem you're solving. I think the problem you're solving is that let's get people want office-like space that's
Yeah.
away from their home, but they don't want to pay that much. So that obviously creates an opportunity.
And so
And
they've got a coffee shop alternative, right?
no, coffee shop's not the same. Let's just put it that way, right? It's loud. You
You
always
can't
got
have
that.
4 people
You
working together at
always
a
got the
coffee shop.
person making the sound. Like
You can
I know
have
you suffer from that.
you can't exactly. You can't have more than one person at a coffee shop, right? You're not going to have a meeting at a coffee shop except for an
Yeah.
intro meeting. And so it's a between coffee shop and WeWork solution. And is there a market for it? And here's the beauty
Yeah.
of it, Tish. You don't have to rent out all the space. You can have storage as half the space. You can have self storage as 90% of the space and rent out 10% of the units. The only thing I'm suggesting is you're buying it for self storage, but you charge twice the rent what you would ordinarily pay for storing your couch if you want to use it daily as an
So,
office.
so is there like a subletting that I hear in here?
There could be a subletting component to it, but
No, but
basically,
like, who is this like the company that has the or like, are we solving the problem of making a storage space into an office space, or are you saying that
yeah, yeah,
the
that's what you're
okay,
solving. That's
that's
what you're solving.
okay.
And the way you solve it is you put electricity into these units because remember, if you have you ever been to self storage, there's metal walls, right? It's corrugated metal walls that are this thin next to the next unit, and there's a big metal door that opens and you have a padlock on it, and there's no ceiling. It's just a wire mesh up top, and there's lights, and the lights just shine from above the metal mesh into your unit.
So maybe
So
I'll go take a. I've never seen one because I'm one of those people who does not accumulate crap. I throw it away. So like getting getting an external space to store something like this violates some of my core values. Like I just won't do it. I'll just throw it away. So
Okay, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what self-storage looks, and then we're going to move on to Zoom. Okay,
okay, yeah.
a cheaper Zoom, because there's a big need for that in a big way. Do you see my screen?
Oh yeah, I've seen these in Storage Wars. There's a show that I used to watch.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
Do you
yeah.
see my
I don't
screen?
know. I don't remember the ceiling being a mesh though.
Do you see my
It looked
screen?
like rooms. Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay, so these ones wouldn't be what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sort
Okay.
of these ones and these blue ones. But here's an example. It's, this is basically a unit, a very small unit, maybe for two people. You see how there's locks on the doors and stuff. This would be a larger unit. You could put 4 or 6 people in. In this case, it already has electricity, if you can see my screen, and it already has at least lights in it, but there's no outlets. You see that?
Yep. Yep.
So all you need to do in this case, this is typical, is people are just loading shit in there, but instead people are bringing some desks. They can rent the desks from you if they want, which would be another $100 a month. But basically, there's a big gap between self-storage and WeWork, because WeWork has the couches, it's got the technology, it's got the conference rooms, it's got the beer on tap, it's got the coffee machine. This has none of
And we all like those things, Jeff.
that.
I know you don't like beer, but I had my fair share of beer at WeWork.
So no, that's fine, Tij. But this is the intention is not to please everybody. The intention is to solve a problem, and that problem are the people that don't want to work from coffee shops any longer, but don't want to upgrade to WeWork, right?
Okay, so the
So
model like just walk in, walk out, or is it
yeah,
like by the hour, by the two, by
no, no, no.
what is the
You
model?
you rent it by the month, month
Okay,
to month. You rent number 446, and
yeah.
you put a padlock on there when you leave, but you're able to, put 4 desks in there with some computers and have coding sessions.
So is this company, and I have to go fast because I have a hard stop at 11:30, but so
Okay.
is this company somebody that we work with the storage company and say, okay, look, we are going to convert your offices into something, and then
No, no,
so
we would buy a self storage
oh, gotcha,
facility,
we will create a new WeWork.
and
Gotcha. Okay,
no,
we're gonna
we
get it
keep
financed.
we keep it
Yeah.
as either self storage and offices, or we call it something different. It's not going to be use the word offices. We'll do something different, and then eventually we just see where the profits are and where the great news is you always have a backup. You can always rent it out as self storage,
Yeah.
right? So this unit can be full of coders one month and then self storage the next month.
No, no, I get it now. So
Yeah.
you're saying, this company, whatever this company is that solves this problem, buys out a storage unit, just like what WeWorks have done, right? Like WeWork was also buying
Yeah, it's buying
everything's
office
not
buildings, but it was
this.
subletting it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but this case, you don't have to build out. There's nothing to build out. You already have the offices already built out for you. All you have to do is put some electricity in there for their computers, and that's it, or for their
yeah,
sewing
and
machines.
I think to pilot this, Jeff, we can also go to like places where it doesn't get too hot or too cold because
Yeah.
the air conditioning and all that
No,
aspect of
no,
it.
they are all climate controlled, Tish. So, okay, let's move on. It's something to talk about because it's fun. But the other thing is
I like it. I
a
like it.
Zoom. Now listen to this. Zoom is expensive. Interestingly enough, for the service it provides is expensive. Corporate enterprise solutions have been reluctant to sign on to it because they already have Skype or they have Google Teams.
No, no, no.
Um,
Corporate have been because of China, like
yeah,
China. Yeah.
Microsoft Teams, sorry, Google Hangouts, and all the rest of them. But I was thinking that, Tish, the same thing is going to happen as we come out of this. When people go back to an office, whether it's the self-storage office or whether it's something else, they're going to want a less expensive solution for Zoom, but they're not going to want to downgrade all the way to the stupid 40-minute limit that they had on the free one, right?
Okay.
And they're going to want to keep it. So you provide a Zoom for exactly half the cost. Zoom is an incredibly profitable company. I love the company, love what they've done. They're at $18 billion. I'm sorry, much, much greater than that now. Zoom is like a $40 billion company. The
Yep.
intention here is to hit singles and doubles not to go for the long ball. We're not looking to replace anybody, but Zoom is at $108 billion. So the idea would be to create something half the price with half the similar margins, but half the price. How do you do that? Well, you limit the services that they offer. You don't go for the large enterprise. You add in a little bit of security, but not the extent that they have, because who the fuck cares? And you offer the service for half the cost of Zoom, and it's the same quality of streaming. It just doesn't have, for example, the record button like we have here. It doesn't have the security, but it has a limited security. It doesn't have the enterprise solution, but it's geared to the 3-person little business at home. And it's $50 a year instead of $200 a year.
Hmm.
Trust me, they're $100 billion company, and they're making 50 to 60% net margins on this stuff. There's very
Yeah.
little
No.
variable cost.
Yep. Look, yeah, whatever you do, like I think getting the enterprise market is, let's forget about it, right? Like this is
Yeah,
another way to spin this is something I've thought about is that obviously in the last 6 months, people have been trained to work remotely,
yeah,
meaning do things remotely that they never thought possible. Sales meetings, where sales meetings were always people traveling and meeting in person, shaking hands, they have now completely become virtual. Similarly, there are other things that have happened, like babysitting, not baby. Let's call it childcare, right? Like your child is six years old, and where they don't need diaper changes, but they need somebody to talk with them to keep them busy,
right.
right? Similarly, there could be other similar services that are doable on the web. All of those people right now are using Zoom, and I think that's where your use case fits, because for them, their margins are low enough where you know they might be hesitant to fully buy into Zoom,
Yeah,
right? So imagine a solution to solve that problem that fits that market, whatever that market is. This is just an example I gave you. There might be other examples, coaching from India, training, people training,
yep,
um, whatever it is, a group podcast. I don't know, like if we Zoom is a generic um, conferencing tool, right?
yep,
The reason why it's generic conferencing is because they were disrupting WebExes and all these big things, and they could do it, right? That's what they did, right? They ate their lunch.
yep,
Because just like these guys are making 60%, most likely Cisco was making 100 or 90, something ridiculous like that, right? So I think I get it, but like I think the way I would say is that the way I would think about it is, yes, let's do that, but like solve a different problem where you make it easy for like that yoga instructor at home to start that call, right? Like
yeah,
the yoga instructors are using Zoom. I've seen them. I've seen them.
yeah,
I've seen them myself, but that Zoom is not giving them that. It's not solving their full problem. And I know you're a fitness nut, so I feel like if you design a product for cheaper that does what Zoom does, but does it even better, and it's specifically solving some problems related to, it's related to making it easier to do their jobs in a
yeah,
virtual environment, then you got something.
yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, so it goes back to my whole go live concept, a little bit, right? With the ability just to
Yeah, the go
one
live
click,
concept. Yeah,
one click and you're live, and somebody else. But I more to explore here, Tij,
yeah.
because I think both have legitimacy. In one case, I think that it would play to our strength, which is the cheaper Zoom, and slowly but surely offering it to people who we give it away for free to begin with. We don't put these hour limits on it. We just give it away for free. You can use it as much as you want.
So
Get a little bit of a loyal following.
just not to cut your train of thought, but just to append it with more information.
Yeah,
So imagine if you were in Zoom, but then there was a toolbox, and in the toolbox you're saying, let's play a game, or let's record scores,
yeah,
or so. Tool, but the way it's positioned is like an extension library, right? So it's like iOS, but then the app extensions can go inside. So for that fitness instructor, they're giving tips out. That's the
Right.
extension. But then for that babysitter or the baby take care, they're bringing out games that they're playing with the kid,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
then for another one, it's bringing, like, for the stock investor who's giving you advice over Zoom, is like, okay, look, this is, you know, let me help you now. Click on your E-Trade here, and then you see what I'm saying? Like,
No, I listen. I think we can. I think let's dive deeper into this because this is really interesting. There's so many use cases for it, other than just the person that wants to save 150 bucks and wants an
yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? If
yeah,
you can make, if you can solve a real problem these guys are having in this
yeah,
virtual environment
uh-huh,
while making it cheaper, I mean, you got a winner, right?
yeah, yeah. Lastly, okay, we're gonna pick that up. Lastly, wanted to show you this. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Saphir Group. So I built this in the last 2 days with a code with somebody in India, and I was asked by one of my partners to help with putting together a clean website. So you see the moving graphics on the right?
No, oh, the it's light.
Yeah,
I do
the
see some
shapes.
3D animation happening.
It's kind of cool, the shapes. But here I'll show you what it is. So this is the about page. This is very, very simple design. Private investment office. I mean, this is as simple as you can get. Private equity, real estate, technology solutions, and then a contact us and a location that you can hover and see where you're located. Kind of cool, huh?
Hmm.
So you know how much that cost?
The Wix
It
thing.
was, we were looking at WordPress. We were looking at web solutions or something. We were looking at Squarespace, where it was originally hosted, and she selected Wix because it seems to have all the tools that she wanted, including parallax scrolling, and um, and it just worked. I mean, eventually we're going to need something a little bit more sophisticated, but it's kind of cool. I like it.
Well, this is the same thing, right? Like, it taking what GoDaddy or what WordPress was doing, and then they made it very specifically to solving websites for people who want to get starter websites.
Yeah,
That's what they solved, right? Like, because WordPress is also being used by bigger organizations, and it now at a level where you need developers. You don't need a developer for this. Anybody
I
can
know
develop a website.
exactly. I mean, WordPress you can still get away with a developer, but it's pretty sophisticated CMS solution. In this
Mhm.
case, this is like, I mean, this has the advanced technology. They've just simplified it to make it easy for
Well,
you.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, like the way it's related to the previous conversation we were having was, so think of WordPress as the conferencing solution, and then you were also using it to, give coaching lessons.
Yeah,
Imagine if there was a conferencing tool made for coaching lessons. I'm sure they have just a little bit of extra problems that the
yeah,
coaching lessons have difficulty. Like, I'll tell you, my brother,
yeah,
who's a physicist, gives my daughter lessons, physics lessons. He just, for fun. He gives my cousins' kids and my daughter physics lessons,
yeah,
and they do it with a board, and he brings his Zoom in, so he's figured it out where he can make it work. But Zoom doesn't work for that use case. Like, you have to make it work, right? So imagine if there was a tool that was says coaching, coaching for
yeah,
entrepreneurs, or
yeah,
sorry, whatever the tool is called,
yeah,
and it had that extra two tools that made it easy to share a whiteboard,
yeah,
right? Make it super easy to write a whiteboard, right? While
yeah,
looking at the professor.
yeah.
Suddenly, I think people, why would they pay them $40? They'll give you $35 while you're giving me the extra two tools. So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's good. We could call it, you know how I have smarter sales and I want to
Yeah,
turn it into smarter this, smarter real estate, smarter legal,
yeah,
smarter,
smarter
yeah, all that
conferences.
stuff. And brand the smart R with the R on it. We could do the same thing with this, with the video conferencing. We could do something like, video for idiots, video for friends, video for this, video for that, whatever
Yeah,
acronym
whatever
that
that does
you
not
use.
insult people's intelligence. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
without
like,
insulting their,
um,
but that, the Four Idiots brand is quite successful. It's one of the most successful brands in the
yeah,
world.
no, this is why I think the term you used was very good. Go live is a very good term, right?
Yeah,
Like go live for yoga instructors, go
yeah,
live for math
yeah. Go
instructors, go
live
live for
yoga, go
coaches.
live friends, go
There you
live
go, right?
classroom, go live
And
whatever, and go live.
exactly.
Yeah,
And then imagine that has the package, and then you can have an extension library where there's a premium one where there's like special yoga, like there's a
yeah.
you wear two bots, and then there's a robot doing the no, because this is all happening, right? AI and all that stuff. AI in the
Augmented
sense
reality. Yeah.
the augmented reality, AR, is becoming so real.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you look at it from that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
you might be on to something, because I think that is a problem to be solved in this newly trained professional space where
Yeah.
everybody has learned how to work remotely. And look, I'll be very honest with you, I would be very surprised if companies take their spend on real estate to the same levels where they used to be. I mean, they've proven the point that people can work as efficiently from home as they could in an office. Obviously, people now want an office, so I think a new hybrid will emerge where there will be offices, but then a lot of people will still be remote. Like,
Okay,
just to
so
close this conversation
my
off.
task, my you're
Yeah,
absolutely right, and that's why I brought it up. I was like, this is just an epiphany, but I was
yeah,
also pissed off at the fact that I'm going to be stuck paying Zoom fees for the next 5 to 10 years if I want to do any business because it's $100 billion company and I'm locked into a $200 contract a year when I should be paying 20. And so, if we can come up with a solution that's less expensive, you're going to see people coming out of this pandemic dropping the expensive shit from their credit cards, the recurring revenues. I just spent another $300 on domain.com and renewal of registrations and shit. So everybody's going to go through this. And if we can make it less expensive and more specific for the use case, I think we have something. The what I'll do, Tij, I know you got to go, but between now and then, whenever we talk next, I have an individual who's already built something like this, and I could repurpose it. We could repurpose it. We could literally strip it of everything, and I'll do a demo with you over the week. We'll record it. We'll add it as a podcast. We'll see whether we could strip it out and just have this technology, and how much that would cost us ultimately, and look to
okay.
launch something because we don't have to invent anything here. It's already built.
No, it's already built. Everything is already built. That's
Yeah.
the thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, I kept you 10 minutes over, buddy. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. This is
Okay.
great. Impromptu podcasts.
Absolutely. Talk to you
Right.
soon.
Have a good one. Bye.